welcome back to the channel. HappyCattyCrypto here, and let's just jump straight into this one. So from around last month, around that midpoint of that month, relatively probably about the 15th, so to speak, we dropped down into this zone, which is, one of these areas where we've not really been this low. And if we have, it definitely wasn't in our lifetimes. Now, with this being said, we have just punched through the 6,000 level. This is really good because we need to keep fighting our way out of these danger zones. The reason being is it's not good to sit down in these areas for too long. It doesn't look good on the charts. What we want to see is volume moving up, sentiment being pushed upwards, confidence returning back into our sector, and people wanting to get involved purely on speculation of what could happen in the future. A lot of things in crypto are merely built on speculation. So like I said, we have breached through that 6,000 level. This is really important. It's crucial. And all we can do at this point is just monitor it and kind of hope we're doing all of the right things as a community. So as of tonight, hopefully this holds and this will pass. Around my time, it's going to be 11:15. I don't know what time that's going to be for you. You'll need to figure that out. This is an important point for us as a community because, like I was saying in my previous videos, no one in a position like mine would ever suggest something like we've suggested and what's being developed and what is going to be put forward. But this is just one part of a huge vision. And what I hope is, as we start to roll through these kind of segments of the United Vision, confidence does start to return. People like Fireblock start thinking to themselves, well, hey, maybe we should hang around. Look, they are getting themselves in gear. Change is on the horizon. And honestly, this community can push for that kind of change because people can be held accountable. And I just feel like things are so easily let slip by and people forget about things. And something I've really noticed is a lot of our developers are very buddy with each other. They all work on different projects, totally off chain, like Docs chain and Entropy and stuff like that. They're all very buddy, and that's not a good situation because you're going to stick up for your buddies at the end of the day. And it's not one of those, we're not seeing these situations where people are misbehaving and someone in there simply being that adult, being the mature one and going, hey, this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to put a stop to this. Instead, they're all egging each other on. Governance isn't law, blah. But with the United Vision comes change. And I think one of the most important things to come in the next few months is this enhanced payment system, because 3 months is just too long, right? To hold anybody accountable to anything. And like I was saying, their behavior improves as they get closer and closer to when they've got to get their quarterly payments, and people are so easy to forget because they just want things to run smoother. I get it. And then we get lulled back into this false sense of security, and then we pay them, and then boom, it's another 3 months of doing what they want to do, and maybe a couple of weeks of trying to please the community. So it's not working out. Having an enhanced payment system which prevents these 3-month long payouts and actually pays it into a wallet that then pays it out on a weekly basis. That wallet can be controlled by governance. It can be halted by proposal. And it really comes down to the community having sway over these developers that, once again, time and time, over and over, will centralize decision making behind scenes, right? They'll barter deals behind the community's backs. And if we don't put these fail safes in place, then honestly, they're never going to get to the point where they are held accountable. This brings a level of security, but not only security, it's going to bring a whole new wave of confidence in everything that we're developing here as a blockchain. It's so important. So the next quarter, I think, is going to be so important because more and more people are realizing now, right, that all nodes provide that infrastructure. When we had that blip a couple of days ago and we had to go through and do about 20 minutes worth of work, which other developers were making out, it took them, 24 hours, and they had to work through the night. It was quite funny to people like us because it took us like 20 minutes to correct the situation. But ultimately, right, they pointed everything to all nodes. They did that because all nodes provide everything, even down to the archive node, which they've stated all nodes don't actually provide that, but they do. And that's why they're able to all of a sudden go, oh, something's messed up. And right, we're going to point to all nodes, because all nodes have got what are seen as a really good system. They've been around for a long time. They understand stuff, and they've just been running that for free. So like I was saying, the next quarter is going to be so important. If we can save funding, it's going to look so much better every month and every quarter, our community pool going up instead of just being drained down to zero. Lack of credibility, lack of accountability, no one really providing anything for the community. And it's come down to a volunteer task force of 2 people that are willing to bring this change, and to get that kind of support, it's so important. But as we draw closer and closer into the next paid quarter, the things I'm saying now they're going to seem so relevant. And something that has kind of like really, really got me thinking recently is, if we go to Moonrunner's dashboard and we look at the community pool, what team is going to be taking the USTC as payment, right? Because one of them has to take it. One of them has to be responsible, if not all 3 of them, if they take a dissected payment, so to speak, right? They all take a portion of that USTC and they sell it to cover their running costs, which is what they'll have to do, right? If money's such a big issue for them. Who's going to be the one to dump USTC by a ton? Who's going to be the person to do that? And it's that lack of accountability for what is to come in the future. And it's just, oh, we'll deal with it when we get to it. But once we get to it and the community see all of a sudden, oh, the USTC's been sold out, the pool's been drained completely, the price is being dumped because these people are selling it out, and it just wasn't the right things to do. But hopefully, by the time we get to the next quarter, the community are going to realize, and validators are going to realize that, hey, we can't afford this stuff, and hey, we should be utilizing the cheaper option, and speaking to all nodes and saying, hey, if you're providing this, then why do we need to pay them for that? And I think this is a question everybody needs to start to ask. And what's the most disturbing thing about everything that goes on in the community right now with validators is the way they vote. Validators are more or less thinking like a week ahead, 2 weeks ahead, maybe a month ahead at most. But no one who voted recently, if you was actually aware of the funding dilemma and the way things are going, how things have been going, you would know that we simply can't afford to fund 3 teams. But barely any validators have recognized that. It's down to a small set like myself, and the very, very slim minority of validators that simply said, this is not a good idea right now because we can't afford it. So I think, as a holder, as someone who's involved in LUNC, right, it's not that you have a responsibility to let people know, but if you want people to make educated decisions, if you want to see this blockchain flourish every quarter and not get to the quarter end, because what happens is there's a state of panic. And when we go into these state of panic modes, it's kind of like what governments do, right? They create a huge dilemma. They create this mass media coverage on this dilemma, and something really important's going on somewhere else that they don't want you to see. And it sort of comes down to really dirty tactics like this, where, hey, maybe they are relying on the chaos taking hold. So, they can get through all of these things because it's going to be first come, first serve, right? Even if the proposals are, say, 5 minutes apart, whichever one goes through first is the one that's going to be getting funding. And I'm just so confused as to what the play is for these people, and how can you be so indebted to restoring and revitalizing a chain, yet taking everything from it, ensuring its destruction, ensuring it doesn't have enough funding to even get by. Because me and Strafe spoke about this in a podcast recently, right? We're just paying to keep the lights on. That's it. We literally are just paying to keep the lights on. There's nothing else going on. The lights just remain on, and that's about it. Everybody else is just there harnessing rewards out of the Oracle rewards pool. So hopefully, with all these new sentiments, right, with the united vision and with all of these kind of fail safes that we can get in place, right, and we can actually secure this blockchain properly for the blockchain, not for some privatized company or someone that's creating some DEX or some bloody Terra system or whatever, instead just simply building it for the blockchain. I do see the blockchain flourishing, right? I do see us starting to move back upwards towards the 8,000 per point range. It's one of those things where I wouldn't be here trying, I wouldn't be here building, I wouldn't be here developing, I wouldn't be here every other day, if not every day, providing content, speaking about things, and making sure that you people that come to this channel to get good, reliable information are being told the truth and there's not things being withheld from you. And I think that's something that everybody prospers from here, because once we reach the next quarter and everybody starts freaking out, what happens? Our HEC already told us about this. Yep, we already know about this. We knew this was going to happen. So for us, we're never really that shocked when these things do happen. But hopefully, as time goes on, people become more and more trusting of what we kind of do inside the HEC factory, and they kind of, not so much, I'm not asking people to trust, but I'm asking to people to go and look at how people have historically behaved, what they've provided and what they've done, and to make your own judgment of somebody's character, because ultimately only you can do that, right? It's a really sad thing that there's so many people that feel they're doing the right thing, which, yeah, they probably would be if we were on a blockchain that's flourishing. We've got funding, we've got all of these different amazing things, the coins going up, we're in the top 30, back on that road. But we're simply not. The chain's dying and nobody's stopping that from happening. It's just been one major step after major step after major step of downtrends upon people leaving, getting distrust. It sucks for someone like me who builds consistently, is always there trying to develop new systems, usher in new ideas, and really bring projects to play that make a difference. But with all of this said, I think it's all food for thought. It's all knowledge to take on and what you need to expect as we push into that next quarter. The podcast should be coming out at some point later on today. I don't know what time exactly, but it will be today. It was a really long-winded one. There was a lot of chat during it, and there's more than just two people this time. It's a real interesting one, so there was a little bit of extra editing that needed to go into it. And yeah, folks, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.